Welcome, everyone, to All Women Driven, the podcast where we're looking into the past to drive women forward in the future in automotive. I am your host, Sarah Davis. You can find me on YouTube and Spotify, also Instagram under All Women Driven, or you can find me on Instagram under Beauty Mama Bear. You can also find me on the Lon MacArthur channel. We go live every Tuesday night, and then we have news, all things Ford news and information over there. Um, don't forget to like and share where you are listening. That's the best and easiest way to support me. If you like my channel, you should also go check out, like I said, that Lon MacArthur channel. If you have any questions on anything Ford, go check us out. We will happily answer your questions over there. Ford Video Guy is where Tim does all of his modifications, and it's kind of like his little blog over there. So go check those out. There's also All Train Nation and Johnny's Car Care and Reviews, to name a few more. To see a more extensive list of all of the channels I support, go down below where you will find them there. All right, now that we've gotten through all of our information there, let's get into this week's episode. Yeah, there's many.
Prayer. All
All
right.
right, so this week we have team, you're 199 this year, right?
That's right.
It's not 200, 199. So, Melissa and Kathryn. So, we will start with, how did you two meet?
She's waiting for me to tell the story. You want to tell your?
We actually met.
Go ahead. Oh, that's right.
We actually met a couple of years ago. So this is how it works in the car. She cuts me off.
That's okay. There's some lag time in between.
Is Melissa cutting it?
Yeah. She might have.
Okay. So how did we meet? We met a few years ago while practicing for the Rebelle Rally, and I was with my partner, Tori, at the time. And we met out in Brawley in order to get some dune time at Glamis. And at the time, Melissa was partnering with Cora. And so we all met up there and ended up being able to train together. And you have to remember, me and Tori were completely newbies. We had no idea what we're doing. I barely knew how to plot coordinates. And we started practicing in the morning, and everybody was about to head out. And everybody went, does everybody know where everybody's going? And I kind of went, no. So we were really fortunate that Melissa and Cora both stopped and said, okay, where do you think you are? Which is always the adult question of where do you think you are? And we kind of just shadowed them for a little bit, and it was a lot of just test and tune. And as a result, we really got to know Cora and Melissa on a deeper level, which was super fun. But we learned a lot from them, and I'll be really transparent, without having them that first training, I don't know that we would have been able to get past the start line on day one. So it was really, really fortunate to be able to train with them that first time. And again, being a rookie, you don't know what you're doing. You're walking into this completely blind, and to have people that are not only on Team Ford, but now your teammates willing to help you really made it a lot easier.
Awesome. So how did you become teammates?
She begged me. No, you know what? Because of doing so many rebels together, you start to realize who you enjoy being around, who has the same kind of spirit you do, and who ultimately has the same level of competition that you want. And I think you kind of choose your partner based on those three categories. And Melissa and I just really aligned. And so we tried to do it a couple of years ago. The timing didn't work. And we were fortunate that we got to do it last year, and now again this year with Team 199.
So this is year 2 for you two. And I heard that there's something big, especially for Melissa, that's happening this year.
Oh, there's a couple of big things. I guess the one big thing, if you're saying it's just for me, this is going to be my 10th rally. So the rally's 10 years old. I've done all the rallies previous to this, so I'm one of four people. Sedona is also on the Ford team, so okay. Ford has 50% of the full timers. 100% Rebelle is, I think, is what they call it. You're 100%.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. And OG means you did it the first year, right? That's the original. And then 100%
Yeah.
that you've done them all. So you obviously, if you've done them all, you also have to be an OG. I think the other big thing for our team, though, is that we are transitioning. We're no longer in the X Cross class, which that's probably Kathryn did 2 years in the 4x4 class, and did last year with me in the X Cross, and now is jumping back to 4x4. So it's probably an easier transition, I'm going to guess, for Kathryn. I've been in the Bronco Sport driver's seat now for a few years, since 2021. And but this year we are moving. That's why we're Team 199 now instead of Team 200, because the 200s are the X Cross class, 100s are 4x4. So we just moved one number back to Team 199, and we're driving a 2025 Bronco Raptor.
That is awesome. So, and Ford's doing a lot of Raptors, isn't that like 5 of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have a Ranger Raptor joining, or is it F-150 Raptors?
There's 2 Ranger Raptors and 3 Bronco Raptors.
Okay. So no F-150.
There might be some in the competition, but not Ford sponsored it. And actually F-150 Raptors in the past have done very well in the Rebelle Rally. They do well. Ford's idea this year was that it's the 15th year of the F-150 Raptor, so they're celebrating 15 years of Raptors, and decided to put all of the vehicles in that they're sponsoring our Raptor. Since we didn't have we don't have a Bronco Sport Raptor, so we're moving.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it's I think Kathryn was laughing at me. We went out and did some training before we were allowed to announce our team. We went out to Johnson Valley and did some training. And, she's navigating for me and telling me, get down to the lake bed. And normally that get down to the lake bed was like a 30-minute thing for me from Cougar Buttes. And I don't know, we were there in less than 10. We just flew. We just flew across the desert, and I was surprised. I think I'm going to like this. And she's like, can you climb that giant rock hill there so that we can, get a better look? And I'm like, yeah, I'll just go up right here. Didn't even have to find the trail, just started climbing the hill. So it's definitely a different beast, and it's easy to control, and it just like all of the Fords that I've driven does what you ask it to do. So I think it's going to be fun this year, and we can get Kathryn her big refrigerator full of Red Bull. So
I'm right there with you.
And watermelon's my favorite flavor, so I love that you're having that, Sarah. But yeah,
Blueberry is mine.
it's a long rally. So when you're out there for 8 days and the afternoon is dragging, you need a little pick me up, and Red Bull is always there for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
She got me actually converted last year. We had to transit across Joshua Tree, and I don't remember what the speed limit is. It felt like the desert tortoises were
30?
Was it? It was so slow, and we had to drive across. It was like an hour drive across, and so I was like, I'm dragging. She goes, here, try one of these, and it was like, okay, I see now why people do that, and it's thankful to Red Bull. I think they're giving us some product this year, so we'll be set up with a fridge full of Red Bulls.
I've been drinking Red Bull since high school. Everyone else is drinking Monster, and I got hooked onto Red Bull with the blueberry flavor.
Same. That was my first too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would go and grab 2 before golf, because they had the buy one get one or whatnot going on. So I'd go and grab 2 Red Bulls, and I would drink one that day and drink the one the next day as I was heading to golf.
Yeah.
So yep.
Kathryn does it in the morning too. She's not a coffee fiend like me. So she does it, and she's got a very specific time that she wants to have her
I can't do coffee
today.
After the enduro, before, I can't remember.
Yeah, Melissa said I can't have it before the enduro because then I'm too amped up and I'm just yelling.
Well, I am a nurse, but CPR while I'm trying to drive an enduro would be challenging.
So I definitely will open one afterwards. And also it's bumpy, there's no time to fix anything. You've got to just keep, in constant control of the clock and the map and the route. And it's just a tulip notes. It's just too much. So you got to stay focused.
Yeah.
I will want to,
So-
I do comment before you change to another question. It's not about Red Bull. It's going back to Kathryn's kind of answering of finding a partner. And I totally agree. I've had a lot of partners. I used to say I was like the one night stand driver or whatever. I couldn't get partners for multiple years. And so I moved through, but Kathryn's right. I think the critical piece in how to be successful in the rally is that you've got to find someone that one will put up with you for 8 days and you can put up with them. But then secondly, having the correct mindset for how competitive that you want to be. Kathryn wants to win it, and so do I, and that's perfect. Kathryn is very good at telling me that when I hold on means be quiet. Now I finally learned that. It doesn't mean stop the vehicle. It just means hold on, because she's right. And my husband will tell you the same. I'm very good at cutting people off. Like they're talking and I want to finish it for them. So I've learned that this year. And it's great though. I know I'm making jokes, but it's really great to have Kathryn back for a second year with us changing classes and a lot of new variables being thrown into it. It's nice to have that person in that right-hand seat that I can trust, that's going to say, here, and we've worked very hard this year as well. Last year we had our first couple days, and it happens when you have a new partner. Our first couple days were not the best, but we started to get our cadence. And if we wouldn't have had the mechanical, we would have won the rally. So for the X Cross, so we're keeping that momentum and coming back, and we've thrown a few little like serious training at ourselves and put it harder probably than the rally actually is, to see just how far we can push ourselves. And I'm pretty excited about how great of a navigator Kathryn is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well,
That's the last
you'll be higher up
compliment you
off the
get, Kathryn.
grants.
Sorry, that's unless we're on the podium. That's no, she is. She's a very good, and she's not afraid to speak her mind, and I need that in the car. So I think we're set up for a really good chance at finishing. Podium is what we're going for. Gold, of course, but podium is definitely, I think, achievable.
Yeah. My husband and I went to the state fair, which is an hour and a half from us. And I came to the realization, I was like, okay, he has me trained on how to tell him when to do things. Because we used to get into such huge arguments about how I would give directions. And so we're at this point where I'm like, okay, you have a turn in 3.5 meters or 3.5 yards or whatever, 3.5 miles, turn right. Because if I tell him which exit number or like what street name, he doesn't remember that. He needs this distance, turn right. He's like, don't tell me anything else. Or hey, at the next stoplight, turn right. He's like, don't tell me street names because I can't read them fast enough.
I agree. There's a driver brain, and it takes away from somebody who is a normally fairly intelligent person, and they get behind the driver's seat and they get a key piece of information, and less than a minute later, they can't remember that piece of information. You have to get it again. So Kathryn's worked with me on what I'm allowed to ask for, because again, with that cutting off thing, I want to know like 3 pieces of data at the same time, which is, feasible. It's not feasible. It's impossible for Kathryn to do all 3. So we've learned that, basically like, and we're talking enduro, right? So enduros is the very precise turns where if you mess up, you're going to lose points, or you're not going to finish your enduro. So like for me, so our goals are just, my goal is to hold the speed. I hold the speed, and then I'll ask her I can get one piece of data. So I have to decide which one is the most important. And it just, I think more so is like if there's a turn, I get nervous about, if we're turning. But the funny thing is, I want to know when we turn if we're changing speeds at the same time, which is hard to do.
But you know what, Sarah, you nailed it, because you have to learn what the vehicle language is for you and your partner, for you and your driver, because Melissa's right. You have to give them the key piece of information that's going to allow them to complete the job that you want them to do. But sometimes too much information is bad. Not enough information can be not helpful. And then there's this sweet spot of giving me the right information, but in the right order I want it in, so I'll remember it,
Yeah.
but also so that I won't make a mistake. And
Yeah.
that's a vehicle language that Melissa and I have learned how to speak. And it takes time. And Melissa's right. We've done a lot of training where some of the things we did were probably going to be even harder than what we've experienced in past rebels. Hopefully, it'll be easier on us this year. But if not, we've trained for the hardest. And I'm really glad to see big blue flags and not little tiny ones that
Are hidden in the shrub.
and you're sitting right on top of it going, it's supposed to be right here. And then we would ultimately find it after digging in a bush. But you're right. That vehicle language inside the car is so important because it doesn't matter how good you are or how accurate you are. If you aren't able to articulate that to your driver, you're not going to get the results you want.
Right. Well, so I've had to remind Lebo, and mind you, we've been married for 7 years now. So it's taken 7 years for us to get to this point where he knows that I need street names or exit. Like, I don't tell me the distance because forget that. I'm not going to remember that, or my brain doesn't comprehend that distance. And so tell me exit 399. I'm going to sit there and go 399, 399, 399. Oh, sign 399. Yep. Go. So for me, it's the name. For him, it's distance and which way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess one of the things I'll say about enduros is I'm assuming somebody's going to watch this podcast that's either thinking about doing the Rebelle or maybe has signed up for the Rebelle. So if you are going to do it, I mean, my words of wisdom for enduro is just don't get lost. I mean, that's what people get so caught up in the data of everything that's on that page. If you miss a turn, your enduro is basically done. And even worse, if you keep on going, now you're lost somewhere and you don't, normally the enduro ends at a flag. And so if you don't complete the enduro the way it's supposed to be run, you're lost and you may have to take a penalty to figure out where you're at. So I just tell rookies, if you can have your navigator not get you lost and tell you where the turns are and you can try to maintain those speeds, you're probably gonna score okay. Rookies tend to go way too fast. It just happens. You're excited.
And then the other side of it is if you get lost, there's a high probability you could run into another team who may be on time. And now you're going to make a mortal enemy by ruining someone else's time. So not only did you hurt yours, now you could hurt somebody else's. So Melissa's right. Just go slower than you need to. You can always speed up, but you've got to hit every single turn possible. Otherwise, it's very, very hard to catch back up.
Yeah.
Unless Melissa's at the driver's seat and she's done it a couple times.
We have done that. Yes. I do recall a very quick turn that like a 360 turn.
You literally did it 3 times. Like, no,
she's like, holy crap. I thought you were going to have to throw it in reverse and it takes so long. And you just like spun a circle. And she knows which one. It's funny.
I know exactly which
you can do, you can do these and this is what's even funnier, because Kathryn will say, you remember those areas from previous Rebelles, don't you? And that is really, I mean, I'm pleased that I do, but I also recognize that my brain has a limited storage capacity, and I have used a lot of it with Rebelle checkpoints. And I remember things like we were talking the other day and she started talking about a day and I started walking them through. I couldn't believe it. It was 6-7 years ago. And I started walking through the day of how we ended up, or maybe it was that day in 2021 where you guys turned right after the green because you didn't read I remember weird stuff like that. So
Sarah, here's the thing. There's a lot of pros to having a partner that's done every Rebelle. They have a lot of experience. They've done this so many times. They can remember certain places. Here's the cons. She remembers everything. And then we'll sit there and decide, oh, I've been here before. I know exactly where we're at.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes she's right. Sometimes she'll just go to places without verifying. And so that can also create some problems too. So there's a pro and a con to it, but the pros definitely outweigh the cons because there's a lot of memory that Melissa has. And I don't know about you, but I can hardly remember, where I'm supposed to be tomorrow and where my kids need to be, much less something that happened in Pirates Cove in 2021. Like,
I don't remember anything about, I don't remember. I remember Rebelle stuff, but I don't remember where I'm going tomorrow or even where I want to
remember things like that I'm just like, oh my God, like this is scary that you remember this, but it can be very, very helpful.
Yeah, she's right. And last year we were in Johnson Valley, and was that you last year? Or no, yes, it was. Now I remember. I've had it a couple times where it's like, because Johnson Valley we spend a lot of time in. So if you point at a place in Johnson Valley, I tend to go, oh yeah, I know, but she's right. I'll just start taking off because it's almost like I've been given my assignment. I'm supposed to drive there. And Kathryn hasn't caught up with what I'm doing yet. So if she gets too quiet in the seat, that means I've done something bad, because she'll just sit there and then I'll ask her something. She goes, I don't know where I am. You just took off. So it's like, oh, okay. But we're learning how to work together. And I will say, Kathryn, even with Tara Lynn, I had Tara Lynn in 2019. But Kathryn's drive, as far as like when we started, like her adjustment to the different variables that I like, literally, so if there's a long transit, I'm allowed to listen to 80s music and not talk to her, because she's over the map the whole time, putting together variables for where we're going to be at the next spot. And I also am not allowed to sing 8675309 song or any song with.
Sarah, could you imagine? You're trying to do math, you're trying to do distances. She's over here singing, which she's not a bad singer, and she knows a lot of 80s songs, which I don't know how she finds that channel on the radio, but she does. And then she starts singing 8675309. I'm like, are you serious right now?
Couldn't imagine doing math.
Yeah. Oh. And put your head down in a speeding vehicle in the dirt. Yeah. Thank God I don't have motion sickness, but I don't understand how some of these teams who do have motion sickness can do it. Because that's going to be really tough on them. Some of them take Dramamine, they have the patches. I don't know how they do it. Luckily, I don't have that problem, but that's got to be really tough for them.
Yeah.
You have a gentle chauffeur. Yeah, and it's funny how you fit. Here's the thing too. My goal is to allow Kathryn to do her most important work. And I think this event is so different from many other off-road racing events, right? This one is, if you don't have a great navigator, constantly being to give you updates. This isn't like a race where you're going to see signs telling you where to turn, or I'm going to see mile markers, or I'm going to see red ribbons if I made the wrong turn. None of that's going to exist. It's all up to Kathryn, and she'll ask for advice or whatever. At times we'll look at things, but it's up to her. And so what I have learned over the years is that if Kathryn spends too much time getting up and away from the maps, it breaks the concentration, and she has to spend more time getting herself back into where the section that we're at. So my goal as a driver is for her, unless she just needs a break, but for her to be able to stay over the maps. So I get out and do compass headings, I get out and signal trackers. I can't pee for her, but she says I pee enough for two anyway. So
Sarah, I have to tell, speaking of a pee story, so Melissa definitely pees a lot, and I'm talking like it's got to be 6 or 7 times a day. I'm just like, how can you have to pee again? I don't understand.
I'm hydrated. It's better than me fainting.
Sure. So the one time, Sarah, I've got to pee, and we go to we go to a gas station, and there's a bathroom inside. So we go inside, and it's been a couple of minutes, but it's only one bathroom unit. There's like 4 or 5 people in line, and I'm like number 5 or 6, right? And so I'm standing there, and I'm like, God, this is taking a while. And so Melissa comes in, and she goes, are you trying to go to the bathroom? And I said, yeah. She looks at the door, looks at the line of people, looks at me and goes, you're not going here. Let's go. Because it was just going to take too long. It was probably going to we were probably going to give up 15, 20 minutes. So I was not able to go to the bathroom at the gas station. I had to go in the dirt somewhere later, which was honestly totally fine. But that was my one time I had to go to the bathroom.
So my next question is, what's the difference like between the X Cross and the 4x4? Like, is there a big difference on plot points or which trails you're going on? Like, what is that difference?
Yep.
So my analysis of it, which this is another problem, why do I analyze things as much around the rally, but I do, is that the X Cross and the 4x4 routes overlap about 70% of the time, 80% of the time. So that means that the crossover type of vehicles, all-wheel drive type of vehicles, are on the 4x4's course most of the day. All of the greens are everybody's. So we will all come together at the greens. Now, sometimes blue flags belong to different, there's 3 different scorebooks besides the fact that there's 2 different classes. So you don't necessarily know when you have a CP guide, which, if you have A and they have B, I don't even know if they're A, B, and C. I think they are, but you don't know which one that you have unless you compare notes with somebody. But the idea is that so people don't follow each other all day. So, and also we've started getting to the fake blues, which I have always suspected, although Emily says they haven't been, but last year, and I think maybe the year before, there were blues very close together with each other. And I'm positive, at least last year, that there were some fake ones just to try to lure you in. And so the reason why I call it a fake blue is it lures you in, you click on it, and then after you activate your tracker, you get a latitude and longitude, and you realize that doesn't compare to your CP guide, which means you just took a 10-point penalty. Because anything outside of your checkpoints that are assigned to you, anything outside of that is called a wide miss, and you get -10.
Because Sarah, you got to remember, you're on this dirt trail for a long time, and you're so excited to see a blue flag because that means you're in the right spot. And some teams will get very hasty and just click and then go, "Oh, that's actually not mine." And so we call it like a fake blues because sometimes you're so happy to see something that you're recognizing that's a part of the course, and then you realize it's not yours, and it's the most defeating feeling ever. And sometimes those fake blues for you are actually a real blue for someone else. So you might see people and go, "Oh, well, they're clicking, so it's got to be it." But just because they're clicking doesn't mean you should click. You should always trust yourself and know your own distances, know your own directionality. You shouldn't be relying on anybody else. But there is that that excitement that happens when you see it, but you always have to double check because don't click on it. And that wide miss, that penalty hurts, Sarah. It hurts so bad, and it'll ruin your entire day after that. It's done it to me. It's burned me a couple times.
So when you're going through, you all have different, or there's probably 3 different groups. So what I'm hearing is that there could be 3 flags in the same general area, and you have no idea which one's yours unless you're following your coordinates to a T.
That's right.
Yeah. Now they say, so I always give everything with a caveat because what is done one year might be different. In fact, I might lag in a little bit. Kathryn was talking to me about what if this happened this year? They've never done it before, but what if that happened? How, wouldn't that be strange? It's like, yeah, you never know what she might throw into that. But yeah, I mean, now I've lost my train of thought because I was lagging. But just the whole idea with you being on the course and finding the checkpoints, just because it was done one way one time doesn't mean that it's going to be the same every year. She changes things.
If you ever watched a show like Big Brother or Survivor, like you have to expect the unexpected. You can't always assume whatever's happened prior is what's going to happen now. So Emily, she's going to throw different variables at you just to see how you react, how you adjust, how you get over things. And that's kind of what the Rebelle Rally is all about. It's all about creating new skill sets, testing yourself in high pressure situations. How do you react? How do you overcome it? How do you stay resilient in the day when you've made a mistake? And maybe your mistake you think was this giant mountain, but for you, maybe actually was just a molehill and somebody else had a bigger mountain because their vehicle's in pieces. So it's all about perspective and how you move through the day every day. And there's no day that's the same.
And usually when you say that was my point, the blues in the same area, it's the same general area. Oh, then I've disappeared.
Good.
Oh, I'm
You're
still
okay.
good. Okay. I was just looking at my camera disappeared. But having like 3 in the same general area doesn't mean there's 3 like side by side. She will put them so that if you're navigating precisely, you will find your correct flag.
Yeah. Okay. So, what does going into the 4x4 class mean for you?
It's going to be stiff competition. There's also a quantity of entries that is typically higher than what happens in X Cross. X Cross, you could have anywhere from 7 to 15 vehicles, and 4x4, you're going to have probably 50 competitors in there, and that's going to be really tough. Some of these people are newbies, first timers, rookies, and about half of them are returning rebels who are there for competition. They want to win, and most of them are going to have multi-years of experience under their belt. They're all going to have different types of rigs, so maybe there's advantages that way. We always think we have an advantage with the Ford Bronco. I've been in the Ford Bronco a couple times prior, and I drive a Bronco Raptor every day, so I have a lot of familiarity with the vehicle. But the toughest part is going to be the level of participation and just the strength in history of a lot of these rebels. They're all in there to win it. Nobody is going in there to take pictures for Instagram. We're wanting to get a podium, and that's going to be a lot of work and dedication, and it's whoever pays attention the best over 8 days is going to end up on that podium.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to make the fewest mistakes. So time management is critically important. I think even working to stay, I don't mean to make this sound bad, but staying out of the way of the rookies, either getting in front of them, because they don't know what they don't know. And Kathryn said sometimes they're coming at you. Sometimes they realize that they're driving very slowly. They don't realize you're behind them. There's just a lot of things that it's like a lot of times the enduros and how well you do on the very first enduros will help you place in the front. So maximizing our points, and it's something that we do very well, is the enduros, and getting all of the points for the enduro. Make sure that we stay in that front 10% of the pack so that we are, and we don't mind going first. I think Kathryn probably could agree. Though, I mean, obviously you don't see tracks if you're first, but you also don't have anybody. There's no dust. You don't have anybody in front of you freaking you out, or like, why are they over there? And it doesn't matter why they're over there. You're doing your own game. So just staying ahead of that and really watching our time. We're trying we brainstorm like what are ways that Melissa can stay in her own seat and get out of Kathryn's maps. And so we've got a couple little tools that I can have, that if I have some questions about what's going on, I can refer. I have my own little document that I'll have, that so I don't have to keep asking Kathryn, where are we going and what are we doing? It also helps me be oriented to my terrain. So if I know we're going 20 kilometers, getting a heading from where I'm at could be important. It gives me a general direction. We're going north. But if we're 2 kilometers away, having a precise heading, I can get an eyeball on a rock, a feature, something that I can say, that's where you say it is. We're going to go 2 kilometers and try to get to that. And so then I can be more of a partner with Kathryn and helping her get more quickly so that we can find the checkpoint.
Yeah. So, out of the OGs that are returning this year, who do you think is going to be your stiffest competition?
So as far as so Sedona and her Bailey are a very good team. I mean, in fact, we helped build these Ford teams. We brought people into the Ford teams that now are some of our very stiffest competition. Shelby and Penny. I mean, Shelby and Rory. She used to be with Penny. Sorry, Shelby
Yeah.
and Rory. They are fantastic. Laura and Penny. We just have some very good teams. But as far as what everybody, worries about is more of the Tara Lynn and Nina. Now, they're great, and I love both of them. I love to see them on course. They're really fun out there. But if you look, here is what I tell everybody again. I've got these old sage. Kathryn has to sit with an old lady in the car giving old sage stories. But if you look at the end of the whole event, look at the end of the entire event last year, and what was the total score percentage? It was not 100%. It was probably 91%. Usually the winners are in the low 90s, maybe right at 90. That means every day they missed 10% of the points. So if you put it that way and you realize in the course of a day I have 232 points or whatever, those are points, 10% of that. Not that it'll happen that way every day, but at least gives you the mindset that no one's perfect out there. Nobody gets all the points. So just because you've gotten a little bit behind doesn't mean that you can't still make a good comeback, because mistakes do happen. You can get all the points one day, but you're not going to get all the points.
Yeah.
Sarah, there's a lot of participants with a lot of experience, and experience matters out there, because you understand what's going to happen for the most part throughout the day. And when you have those type of people on your team, whether it's your direct teammate or whether you have an alliance or you're part of a bigger conglomerate like Team Ford, those are going to be people to watch out for, because they're going to do really well. And Melissa said it earlier, and nobody's going to have a perfect day. Well, for the most part. But there is going to be how you manage and minimize your mistakes that you're going to make. And that could be timing, that could be distance, that can be, deciding which route to go. Because that's another piece of the puzzle that Emily will throw at you is she'll give you, let's say, 30 checkpoints, but if you only have 10 hours in a day, physically, you could probably maybe only do 27. So which 3 are you going to give up? Are they the ones that the furthest away? Are they the ones with the least amount of points? Are they the ones with the rugged terrain? So a lot of that becomes strategy. And I hate to compare this to like NASCAR, but everybody assumes that you just go on NASCAR, you turn left. Whoa. There's so much more strategy behind it. When do you pit? When do you push? When do you take tires? When do you take fuel? And that kind of happens in Rebelle. We have to make these sudden decisions that are going to be a bigger strategy game for us. And the teams that have the most experience know when to take those high risk decisions. And that's tough, because sometimes there's teams that get out there and they go, I'm going to go for everything. Okay, sure. But that's not really possible. And at the end of the day, you're going to make a mistake in some form or fashion. So strategy is a big component of this game. And the more experience you have, and having OGs like Sedona there, she knows how to do strategy. And she also knows how to, talk to your teammates and figure out what's your strategy. Okay, well, we're doing this. Great. All right. See if I see you. But a big part of it is just knowing what's your strategy, sticking to it, and making the least amount of mistakes so that you can come out with the most amount of points.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, she does design things that will rattle even experienced. So last year we had this enduro that was not on time. It was for kind of precision. And you would randomly stop at these places and you would, activate your tracker and you would click. But it wasn't until we got very late in the game that we realized the timings that these things closed was like right on us. And we were doing the best we can. We were flying down the course within the limits of what we were allowed to do. And it was funny that was the day we had the mechanical. So a lot of other things happened. It distracted us. But Kathryn and I were the furthest of any vehicle down that course. And the reason why is because they threw out an X option, and the X option was even harder. And all of those points people missed because the checkpoints closed too quickly. So that was one of those strategies where, wow, I can get more points if I go this way, but it took them way out of the way, so they didn't have time to click. So the people who stayed on the regular course actually scored higher. So it's one of those weird strategy things, and it can get you. The best ones want to get all the points, and sometimes go after the wrong, what does she call it? Ego flags. She put a flag way out in the middle of nowhere to see if somebody will chase it.
So I actually interviewed Emily, and her interview is going to go live October 9th.
Oh, nice.
So
that
is
on
that
purpose, Sarah?
We're not gonna watch it.
Nope, you won't be able to, unfortunately. No, she doesn't give anything away or anything. But from what it sounds like, it's going to be a wonderful year, especially with it being the 10th year, bringing people back and everything. But no, I was just like, oh, hey, I got Emily on. I need to have her start. I need to have her episode that day.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, yeah. But
well, people spend a lot of time trying to guess what she's planning or thinking. And, we've got our own theory. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. And it doesn't do much difference. It doesn't make much of a difference what you know or don't know, because the course is still the course. But I just have had this feeling since last year, since this is the 10th year, that we're going to see some terrain maybe we haven't seen since the first year, just so she can see, does anybody remember Fallon? Does anybody remember? And then Kathryn's going to be, you remember, right, Melissa? I hope so.
That's exactly what I was sitting here thinking. I'm like, oh, I wasn't there, so she better remember.
So when you guys train, who sets out your flags? Because if one of you sets out the flags, that's not.
No, we have a third party, and sometimes it's Melissa's husband, Brian, and that poor man will come out there a couple days beforehand and go put out these flags. And, again, he loves to hide them in bushes, which is a little bit difficult. But luckily, he's there to do that. You're right. Otherwise, Melissa could be like, oh, it's over there. But sometimes she'll also, if she does know where it is or has a feeling where it is, she'll sometimes just not say anything just to see if I can get us there. And so that becomes a little bit more difficult. But we actually just did another Rebelle Ford testing with all the teams a few weeks ago, which was great. And so having independent people out there to drop those flags for us was really great. And again, you're testing your timing, you're testing your distance, you're testing your headings. All of it comes into play. But it's nice to be a part of Team Ford, because we have the ability to do more training, with our teammates to get us in the tip-top shape we need to be in.
It was a great training. It was hard as heck. It's like they did a huge day with an enduro, and Kathryn magically found and nailed number 2 when we were looking for number 1 or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but it was like, wow, you uncannily found a black checkpoint that we weren't looking for yet. Yeah. But those things knock the rust off, right? So that's the other thing that's hard is that people say there's not another event. Like, so many people have a series or a circuit, and you go one, and then 3 months later you do another, or you do 2 or 3. We don't have another competition exactly like this that we do. So we have to have these knock the rust off, and who's going to make and that's the time. So my belief in training is train to failure. And then learn from that failure, because you don't want to compete to failure, right? You want to get those kind of things. If there's something missing, get that taken care of during your training period.
Yeah, that is awesome. It has been a wonderful time talking to you two. I hope you both do well.
I heard you might show up somewhere along, like that there might be.
If we can figure it out. My best friend is having her first baby, and her baby shower is that Saturday after the finale. So, and then my son's birthday is on Sunday. So we are seeing. I might have to tell my best friend, like, hey, I'll come over. She would completely understand. She knows how much this would mean to me to go. So we'll see what we figure out and if we can make it work.
Yeah. It's really cool this year because the finish line hasn't really been open to the public before. There's had award ceremonies and things the next day that are available, but the finish line's never been completely public. So I think this will be fun for everybody. It'll be great to get there and see, see all the people that you feel. So I tell people, sometimes you feel like you're being watched, and it's because somebody's on that tracker trying to figure out what you're doing.
Well, last year during our live stream, during the Rebelle Rally, we actually pulled up the trackers and we're like, okay, so where's Melissa at? And we followed what you had been doing. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah, but I'll just say I so appreciate how this has grown, how the Rebelle Rally's grown, and how Ford especially, and the Bronco community. We were just at Supercell, and just people coming up saying, oh, we're cheering for you, we're rooting for you. And it's been a real neat connection, right? So we've taken the Rebelle Rally and then taking Ford Bronco, but we've met so many cool people like you and your dad and your family, and being able to do off-roading with them. And to have that, we're cheering for you kind of thing. It's been really a fantastic journey here with Ford, and being is this my 5th year with Ford? Yes, it is. So 10 years in the rally and 5 years for Ford. And it's been
15 years for Raptor. There's a lot of anniversaries going on there for you.
Exactly. And I'm not going to say how old Melissa is for how many, because it's also a 5, but we won't. 25. That's it.
There you go.
So Sarah, for having us on as a team, and we were just excited to hear that we're changing classes, but I still love the Bronco sport. So if anybody's watching, we'll still be out there doing sport things.
Awesome. So, well, it's been fun to talk to you too. Good luck, and hopefully we talk to you after.
Sounds good.
You,
Thanks.
Right, have a great day.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you for another wonderful week of All Women Driven, where we are looking into the past to drive women forward in the future of automotive. Join me next week for a tutorial or some information on how to read the scoring sheet from Rebelle Rally. I have one of their top scoring liaison will be joining me to go over that with me, so that way you all can know what you're looking at when you're looking at the scoring sheet. It can be a little confusing. Week after that, we have Emily Miller. And then on Friday the 17th, we're going to see if I go live, but I will have videos coming from that day from the finish line of Rebelle Rally. Tim and I are going to be there. We are so excited to go. So I will be getting an in-person view of that finish line. We'll get to see Melissa and the others that we have done interviews with so far. And then after that, we'll see who I can get on for an interview a couple weeks after Rebelle to see how they did. So lots to come. Join me. Don't forget to like, share, and if you want to be updated on when these videos go live, go ahead and hit that bell. That will notify you when my videos go live. So have a wonderful week, everyone.